We've been doing all of the Rostermania videos, and we're all there. We're all done now. We're officially at the end of Rostermania. But there was one team that wasn't officially announced as I was wrapping up Rostermania, and that was NiP. So, NiP have finally revealed their lineup, and it might have caught a few of you by surprise. Obviously, everyone's been scrambling to put together rosters in time for the end of Rostermania and to make sure that we're all meeting our contractual obligations for all of the leagues that people are going to be wanting to play at. Because remember, these days, now in 2025, organizations are essentially being paid to attend, and people are going to be picking and choosing which tournament operators they show fealty to. And so NiP are no different, although I think we all know historically where they're likely to put their loyalties. But with all of the tournaments coming thick and fast, as I said, we've got Blast Bounty going on right now. Next up is IEM Katowice. After that, it was straight into PGL Cluj-Napoca, which I'll be working. I've had the contract sent across, so I'm going to be doing that. I'll be hosting that event. And then it's just a super packed calendar. So everyone's been kind of scrambling as there's a couple of teams that are still outstanding at the moment, but by and large, everyone's got their roster set up. And so NiP, it's no secret to say, they haven't been in a position realistically to sort of spend big money. And, they're kind of now trying to be more like this incubator team, as in they're trying to incubate talent and then get the most out of it as they can. But what I will say is this might be the best NiP team, NiP lineup I think I've seen in a while, and I'm actually quietly excited about it. So here's the lineup. We'll just get into it. It's Snappy, obviously formerly of Falcons, experienced veteran IGL, did great work with Ents for a long period of time. Then it went to Falcons to get the bag. It was a total fucking disaster. They got Shush from Heroic, who a lot of people thought he might have been a little bit unlucky not to have gone to Falcons, is part of that core that they purchased, although Tezes did pop off savagely the other day and managed to buy the win essentially for Falcons over Ents with 2 overtime wins. He doesn't do that in playoffs though, so just saying. But yes, Shush is going to be in there. Obviously Wrinkle is the holdover. Wrinkle is their young AWPer that we all really like. We think he's a talent. We think he's going to be good. And then of course it's U-Jerks and Aradochi, who is the young Portuguese. Well, they're both young Portuguese, but he's the younger of the two. That obviously was cut from Saw. And what they're having to do to make sure they get their invites to the Valve standings, because how it works is you have to have players that have been on a top team, a Valve-ranked team before. You have to have at least 3 on the roster, and then you have to play with them. And then, so Jax is one of those players because he was on Vitality as a stand-in in the last calendar year. And so he plays 10 games or whatever it's going to work out as till they attain a ranking, and then he's going to be out, and then that 5 above him is going to be the 5 moving forward. So just in case there's a little bit of confusion there. Now, I got lots of thoughts. It's kind of crazy to me, first of all, that they've been able to attract some of these players, because as we all know, NiP is essentially the players' graveyard. It's where you go to die. But there's kind of an interesting thing that's happened, because if you remember, Mistem, who was their previous leader, he had been doing, I thought, pretty well. He never had a full roster to really work with. They have a ton of people on the bench. He was coming in and replacing someone in the form of Alex. Sorry, it was Alex that was the IGL. Sorry, I don't know why I'm saying Mistem is. But Mistem came in, played really well, and then he is not on the roster anymore. And what that doesn't make sense, because if you look here, this was Eric Wendell saying Mistem is the future. That hasn't changed. as always, will give you and everyone else some of the most transparent and genuine communication in the industry, as we always do. But that's next week when everything is finalized. So he went from being the future on Jan 3rd to being surplus to requirements by Jan 15th. So, like, in 2 weeks, he was no longer the future. So I don't know what happened there, and I don't know why he's been kind of deemed surplus. And yeah, Mistem was a temporary IGL after Alex, right? I don't know if he was ever meant to be the permanent IGL, but he did IGL. I wasn't wrong about that. Sorry, I second-guessed myself. And so I get it. Like, Snappy's obviously a veteran and, you know, desirable, exactly the type of IGL you would want for this project. It has shades of Ents about it, an international lineup of younger, inexperienced players. Sure, makes sense. But I thought Mistem was done pretty fucking dirty, honestly. Maxter, fair enough. You know, maybe he didn't do enough. Maybe he didn't live up to expectations. Config's career is over, whether he knows it or not. Alex was never a smart pickup. I don't understand what they were even going for there. So there's, like, aspects of, like, the NiP policy where it's like, I never understood what NiP were trying to do. Like, I don't understand why you bring Config in when he's clearly washed and his head's not right. And, you know, that's it now. He's had all his chances. It's over for him. Alex did well with, like, an Iberian team. But outside of that, what had he done? You know, did he have the chops for international in-game leadership? Was he even that good an IGL? No. Mistem was kind of like one of the best recruitment choices they'd made in a long, long time. And to see him on the bench it kind of sucks. So that was the first thing that, like, stood out to me. I was like, yeah, I don't really like that. The trade up, arguably, for Snappy, sure, for a project like this. But everything else about the roster is, like, really, really good. And it's the right kind of speculative. I thought U-Jerks was, like, pretty decent when I saw him play. Stood out for sure. I mean, already in El Asico, he's had a pop-off. Well, not a pop-off of 14-7, but decent rating. El Asico is back. But, like, this is what I was talking about. When he was in SAW, he had, like, some really good, like, consistent matches, and these are like the LAN performance matches, obviously. So I was I was like, oh, he's a talent. That's cool. You know, Portugal hasn't had a lot of talent realistically for a while. They used to have a really good source scene, and then a lot of those players, yeah, they started playing Go, but it didn't really work out, and piece by piece, they kind of, like, all faded away. And then this was the other one. This is what we were talking about when we were doing the major, and that was like, why did this guy get cut? We couldn't figure it out, because he looked a real prospect, and he was someone that was, like, putting up, you know, like, back here, you know, these are okay numbers for a young, inexperienced player, but they got rid of him. Obviously, didn't go out in great fashion, but we were confused for NiP to give him a second chance. I'm actually quite happy about that. I think probably he was definitely deserving of another opportunity, and maybe didn't get to show his best at SAW for whatever reason. But overall now, I think when you look at, like, the composition of the team, young, explosive AWPer with, like, definitely room to grow, room to develop. You've got two decent riflers, one young, one a bit more experienced. You've got Shush, obviously solid anchor player, and then you've got a veteran IGL. This is probably the best lineup NiP have had in fucking ages, like years. And I know they've been talking a good talk about, like, oh, we're gonna build, and we're gonna get competitive in 2025, and we're gonna be more transparent, and we're gonna be better at communication, and all the bullshit and the fuckery is gone, and all of this stuff. I don't believe any of that for a second, but I will say they've got a coach who slept on in the form of Exist, and now they've got a super cool young lineup with an experienced IGL. And it's an interesting time in general. It's sort of that full second year of CS2. All the new rosters are out. These are definitely a team to watch. I'm going to be intrigued to see where they go. Obviously, I can never be a fan of NiP. Like that goes without saying. Too much. There's too much water under that particular bridge. But I'm definitely intrigued by the lineup. And I want to see what happens to Mistem, because Mistem, he's been done dirty for sure. I hope they have a plan to get him into another org. I don't know which one it would be. Obviously, being South African, I don't know what that does in terms of like opportunity. Probably not much, but he's too good to be sitting on a bench, I think. And it is kind of weird, as I said, that you go from Mistem is the future. That hasn't changed. Oh, shit, we can get snappy. What up? So, I hate to say it, but I think NiP, I think they've done good work here. This is certainly not going to cost them too much money. I really like the Shush pickup. I really like the Snappy pickup. Wrinkle was already good for me. And these two pickups here, the chances of them both being bad are pretty limited. Like I say, U-Jerks now is deceptively experienced. So, I don't know. I think NiP might have actually done something good there, probably by accident. But there you have it.